Hello mech fans and welcome to the Valhalla Club. Grab yourself a Timbeaky Dark, set up that paint booth, open that spreadsheet, and join us as we talk all things BattleTech.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Valhalla Club. I'll be your bartender for tonight, Bourbon or Ben. With me tonight also is Matt the Northman, Mike the Viking, and our special guest tonight is Hammer the MegaMek Dev, also known as Dave. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get involved with BattleTech and then MegaMek?
Oh, I'm going to date myself pretty instantly with this. I actually got started playing BattleTech back in 1985, and I was in junior high. A good friend of mine after school said to me, he said, "You got to come over and see this new game." And he says, "It's like robots to beat the hell out of each other." So we went over, and he had a game in the box on it, had battle droids. So I'll always remember my first game was it was a Phoenix Hawk, and he was in the Wolverine, and it was chaos. Like, it was just absolute mayhem because we didn't have a clue what the rules were, but we were just kind of read, play. And I ended up beating him, and I was hooked. Like, I was absolutely hooked at that point. And I remember I begged my folks over and over and over and over again that I wanted to get battle droids for Christmas. And I'd been playing D&D for that point too. Like, I'd kind of been doing RPGs, D&D, Red Box, that kind of thing. But this was a big change. So my folks kind of went, yeah. And eventually, it turned out that it was the following year, on my birthday, I ended up getting the BattleTech box set. And I was really disappointed. Like, I was absolutely like, Mom, how could you buy me the wrong game? And it wasn't until I opened it up and started realizing that it was the same game, but the name had changed. And I was too young to even care. And to be honest with you, ever since then, I've played every version of BattleTech. I've done all the computer games. I have 2 full bookcases full of all the BattleTech books, going right the way back to the original box sets. I actually did eventually get a Battle Droids box set off eBay. I paid a fortune for it just to say I had it. So, you know what? I love the game. It's been a huge part of my life. I'm post 50 now, and it's probably the one game that I'm still completely fascinated by and play with all the time. So I think for the MegaMek piece and how did I get involved in MegaMek, it actually kind of started out interesting, but you know what it's like? You get to an age where all your friends move away, they start doing things like getting married and having kids, and you suddenly lose that ability to get together on like a Saturday night to play. And a couple of them moved away, further away. And one day I was just Googling and I stumbled across a thing on MegaMek. I went to SourceForge, downloaded it, and I thought it was really cool, and it was a pretty accurate representation. That probably would have been about 2011. And the thing at that time, their data guy at that point was Dark as I. Daniel Eisenberger, who's one of the authors now. He'd left the project, and they had no one looking after data. And at that point, there was a lot of TROs that were out. The XTROs were coming out. So I just started using MegaMek Lab to build the units, started sending the units into the 2 developers they had at that time. And I did that for a couple of years. And then finally, one of the developers reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you code?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "Okay, perfect. I need you to help me with a coding project." So they gave me a crash course in how to code and put in a bunch of missing weapons and stuff. They added me to the dev team, and I've been there ever since. So I got started as the data guy. And over the years, I still don't code very much. I do simple things that I can help out with, but I've kind of evolved to the data piece. And now, in the last, probably since coming out of the pandemic, MegaMek's popularity exploded in the pandemic. And I found that over time, I started to become more people knew me as Hammer the MegaMek guy. And more time was spent doing social media, interacting with the community, basically kind of evolving to being the face of MegaMek, which was fine because a lot of the coders we had at the time said flat out, we don't really want to interact with the community, and you seem to like it, so go ahead. And then about a year and a half ago, we had a developers meeting, and we were all kind of chatting because important thing to know about MegaMek is we're open source, so everybody can come and go as they want. Everybody does what they want. Everybody contributes what they want. And it was one of those, moments where, in the movies, they say we need to volunteer and everybody steps back. That's pretty much what happened. Everybody kind of took a step back and said, yeah, no, you've been around the longest. You remember everything, all the dumb things that we've done in the past or tried to do in the past. You seem to remember all the trackers, all the codes, all the things the community's ever wanted. So you're the project lead. So I am the unofficial project lead / face of the projects, largely because I'm in denial to this day. So
You
that's
survived.
kind of my
The de facto boss man.
yeah. And I will tell you, I have influence and I can suggest things and encourage things and direct some traffic, but I'll still wander in and say we need mobile structures, and I get a lot of eye rolling, and everybody goes back to doing what they were doing. So it's it's a lot of fun. Like, it really, really is. But it is a bit of cat herding, but it suits me because in my real work, in my real job, I'm in a management position, but I'm in a very structured, organized, huge corporate environment. So it's nice to just come and kibitz and have fun with the community and have fun with the developers. So it's that's kind of my that's my story, and that's how a lot of the developers get started. They're people who can code, and they have an interest in BattleTech. And a lot of people think we have these huge barriers for entry, and we don't. Like, if you can code, if you will not try and rewrite our entire code base as your first project, and you want to contribute, come on in, submit a pull request. We'll review it. If we like it, you're in. Do that enough and be good with the community, and eventually I may come out to you and say, do you want to be a dev? And getting hung with the red cape in the MegaMek Discord is a lot like wearing a red shirt in Star Trek. You do all the same stuff. The only difference is you have to approve other people's work and serve as a guardian of the code. So, that's really kind of how I got started, and that's how most people get started. So that's one of the things I would say here as a plug. If you can code and you can read the code, and you really do like MegaMek and you want to contribute, don't be afraid to jump on our Discord and come in, and here's the rules. Here's what we expect for people to contribute, and toss in something. So we have a lot of people now. MegaMek at this point in time has never had this many people working on it. We have approximately 20 active developers and contributors.
Wow.
It is, which is why anybody who's followed MegaMek in the last year and a half will have noticed staggering amounts of stuff come out.
Yeah,
I
for
sure
sure.
hope you have some sort of sign to put on your desk that says Guardian of the Code, because I like that title there.
That's nice.
Yeah, there's, it was kind of funny. We dropped, humorous story. We dropped 5004 about a month ago, and it missed being a milestone release by a couple of points. Like, there was a couple of issues we had, and we really want to get a new milestone out. So we said, okay, look, we're going to get razor focused. We know there's half a dozen things we want to fix. We'll do a really short development cycle, and we'll drop 5005, which we're hoping, just here's kind of a bit of a teaser for you guys. We're hoping to drop this weekend. And the funny thing was, I then went away for 3 weeks. And while I was in England for 3 weeks, I came back, and what was supposed to be a tight, focused release on bug fixes has turned into yet another monolithic release where we've done like so much stuff across the 3 programs. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yes, the guardian of the code goes on vacation, and the cat's away and the mice will play.
That
awesome.
sounds like a typical Catalyst product at that point.
There's a lot of runaway in MegaMek, and there's a lot of ideas that happen behind the scene where we talk about stuff and we're kind of like, no, not yet, maybe someday, perhaps. One of our biggest challenges, truthfully, is managing the expectations between official and unofficial for the projects. So, because of course, with the MegaMek and MegaMek Lab, they need to stay true to the rules. So they have to stay official. The only exceptions we use are for things like UI and quality of life improvements. Mech HQ is the Wild West.
My favorite.
Yeah. And right now we've got a very talented developer who's doing a lot of work on Mech HQ, has implemented a lot of stuff. Everybody's talented, but he's really, in the last year, he's fortunate enough to be able to work full time on the code. So he puts in probably 40 hours a week. Like,
Wow.
MegaMek is like a full-time job for him, Mech HQ specifically. So he's implemented a lot of the stuff you've seen. Auto awards, campaign operations 2C, which was a revamping of the operations and stuff. All of that stuff is kind of come along. So, that's kind of, again, kind of a look at where, broad strokes, where we're at and some of the chaos that ensues.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll just do it this way. We're going to do it live. Hey, so for those of you listening, if you haven't figured out by now, we're going to be talking about MegaMek for the main medal tonight. So let's just dive right into it. So we kind of talked about the first question already, Dave. How did you get started with MegaMek and stuff? But can you talk about the current version of MegaMek? Kind of what are the highlights? What are the improvements that have been made to MegaMek for those that either have never played or just kind of casually dabbled a little bit here and there?
Okay. I think what I should probably do, if you guys are good with it, is because MegaMek actually has versioning, I should probably take a second to explain the versioning before I can kind of get into some of the specific things.
Sure.
Just because it's it confuses a lot of people, and I think it would make sense to just bring it up. So
yeah, absolutely.
In the good old days, MegaMek had what was known as stable releases and development releases. And stable releases was our way of saying this product is reasonably bug-free, and it's a good point to sit on and play. And then we would have development or dev releases, and that's where we were pushing new code. So think bleeding edge, think cutting edge stuff. The difference between stable and development was more likely to have bugs. And we realized that the stable development process was choking us to death, because what we would have to do is get to a point where we would say in development, okay, we need to start getting ready for a new stable. And then what we would do is we would stop doing anything except bug fixes, and that could be anywhere from 6 months to a year. So it would choke the innovation, it would bore developers to death, and then we would finally drop a stable and start a new development cycle. And then we decided last year in May of 24 that we were going to move to what we call our new milestone system. And what happens with the milestone is, rather than try and get a perfect release, we will put a release out and we monitor it for a few weeks. And if the feedback from the community is that it's stable, doesn't have any real deal-breaking bugs, as developers, we're not seeing any deal-breaking bugs. What will happen is we will declare that release a milestone. And what happens from that point is it's kind of like saying, we've got a release that's good. You can sit on this release and play it for a while. And then we continue on with development. And instead of saying to ourselves, we want to stable on this state, we kind of let milestones evolve naturally, which is a kind of a big help. So our last milestone, and this kind of leads into your question, our last milestone was released in May of 24. So we're coming up to a year. And we are now, having just pushed 50.04 about a month ago. If you were to look at what's going on from 49.1 to 50.04, you will see an absolutely obscene amount of changes, both in terms of looks, cosmetics, all sorts of craziness. Like, I'm just going to do some napkin math here, just as a comparison here, because I can kind of tell you that we have had in our history text, which describes every single thing. So if you go into our history text, you'll see stuff like fix, and that's a bug. Pull request, that's something new. In the last year, just in MegaMek, we have added, there are about 610 lines, and every one of those lines is a pull request or a fix. So just in MegaMek alone, that is a huge, huge amount of code. Like, I recently, I don't know if any of you guys caught it, but we released what I call the State of the Universe. And the State of the Universe is our kind of what's going on every year and what we've done in the last year. And I'm just trying to see, what did I write in there?
There was a lot in there. I caught some of it. So yeah, there was. It was a healthy amount of we have done a lot.
Yeah. So MegaMek, just for perspective, in almost a year, had 3,477 code commits to the repository. We added 25 million lines of code. We adjusted, touched, or modified 19 million lines of code. MegaMek or MegaMek Lab, which is considered to be kind of the middle child. So, it gets really not a lot of attention and focus. It had 5 million lines of code added. MekHQ had 4,536 commits, and we added 74.5 million lines of code. So we added 10.4 million lines of code.
Just a bit, huh? Just a bit.
Just a little bit. Good Lord. And you guys are all just volunteers, right? You guys aren't
yeah.
love of the game kind of thing, right?
Love of the game. None of us are paid. We can't be paid, actually, because we fit in a weird licensing place, right? Because technically MegaMek is an electronic product. So we actually fit under Microsoft. Is the licensing that Microsoft holds for that. But because we heavily use the information that Catalyst does for the universe, we also have one foot in their world. So we walk between two IPs and two sets of copyrights. So we walk one foot in the Microsoft world and one in the Tops world. But I need to stress that Microsoft is very aware of us, and they have no issues with us. We chat with them about once a year, and they're like, "Yeah, your guys are good. Just don't sell the game. You sell the game, we're going to come down on you with like Microsoft." Which is why we will never.
Lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why, and we never would. And our relationship with Catalyst is phenomenal. Like, we do the record sheets for them. We work closely with them. A lot of the developers are under NDA to be able to do stuff. So to go back to your point with the releases, you got Milestone, and then you've got what's our current development releases. And to be honest with you, we'd be here for 2 days if I needed to try and list everything
Right.
that we've done in the programs. Like, I put some highlights in the State of the Union, right? Like, we've got countless fixes. We have the new ACAR and PACAR game modes in the newest development releases. Because if you're not familiar with those, we have a contributor, a developer actually, and she doesn't like playing tabletop BattleTech, but she loves managing units. She likes the account tech. So what she did was she effectively created a way that she can manage the unit and send them off for battle. And ACAR, which is, kind of an advanced tactical system, what it does is it simulates Alpha Strike / Strategic Battle Force in MegaMek. Mash a button, the battle ends in a couple of seconds. And then you just have to pick up the pieces. Then the next one we have is Packard, and everybody knows about Princess, who's our favorite little sociopath.
Yes.
That's accurate.
I don't like that one.
She is a scheming harlot.
Yeah. Well, as one of our favorite memes describe her, she looks at the Ares convention like a checklist. So Packard, what it does is it lets Princess abstractly play with you in a commander mode. So it effectively lets you say to Princess, just go get them. And then you have some limited controls around how you can tell her to go get them. And both sides play the battle. So, we implemented those for players that don't want to get into the slog. We've done a lot of improvements. We worked with Catalyst to do Alpha Strike conversions and produce Alpha Strike cards now. We, like I said, there's always stuff we're tweaking and playing and doing and adding. MegaMek Lab is, everybody uses it. It's funny. I will say we are the best. I'm going to say we're the best unit designer that's currently out there. But I'm going to tell you that comment will get a lot of people sending me all sorts of nasty comments. Mainly because I'll just say, because we're the most current and in development, we can produce the most units. We do produce the official record sheets. We have a new guy who is contributing to MegaMek Lab. And as a teaser, some of the stuff that he's got coming out over the next few releases is absolutely unbelievable in MegaMek Lab. There's the ability now to look at a record sheet in the unit preview, zoom in to it really closely and look at it. Just adding the ability to do, he's adding the ability to do damaged record sheets. So if you're going to go into a tournament and you want to have pre-damaged mechs, you can pre-damage the record sheet. There's a simple force builder tool going into it, because currently to build force, you've got to build it in MegaMek, bring it over to MegaMek Lab, but he's put in a system that's very simple and straightforward to do in the lab. Mech HQ. Mech HQ, you wouldn't recognize it between 49, the milestone, 49.19.1. Versus where it is today. There's so much change in their look, feel, bug fixes. StratCon, which has been the big game. That's our big, play a campaign kind of system, has had a lot of changes, balance, and improvements. There's a lot of stuff planned for that. I can tease that in a little bit. There's just so much stuff. Like, it's been unbelievable this last year. The look of the programs has changed. There's new splash screens. If you hadn't seen the splash screens that are available in the new ones that are in 50.4, we were nice enough to get Eldon Cowger to come in and do that art, those splashes, and they're stunning. Like I said, I'm not sure if you guys have seen them.
Yeah, He does great work, so always enjoy seeing his stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I can't even tell you what version of MegaMek I think I started with. It had to be around 2005 or 6, maybe.
Probably in the 20s or 30s then.
Yeah, I want to say it was 20 something. I seem to recall that. And then when I was overseas living in the Middle East for a couple years, MegaMek was like the only thing I had to get my BattleTech fix on. So, um, you know, just the improvements especially I talked about Mech HQ earlier because I'm a huge fan of that, and I've had a running campaign in Mech HQ for probably the last 10 years, I think, um, from pretty much the time when it came out to now still, and the splash screens alone are kind of just really drawing the eyes in, and the opening screens and stuff like that. Those are all fantastically done.
Yeah. We've like I said, right now, one of the things I'd probably say, because it's Mech HQ, I'm going to be honest, it's Mech HQ that has really driven the growth of the programs in the last few years. I think, and I'll toss a total big shout out to HBS's BattleTech game. I think that the arrival of HBS BattleTech years ago really fired up the BattleTech online community.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really kind of unfortunate where the licensing has taken that. But that really woke up a lot of people. And then we've had a lot of people that have been roaming around trying to find a campaign. And that's when Mech HQ kind of arrived. The one thing that I will say for people to be really clear about is Mech HQ is not a game. It's a virtual tabletop that has some gaming elements in it. So we're always conscious to say to people, if you're going to come into Mech HQ, the learning curve is vertical. Because we suck at documentation. We'd rather write code than documentation. Plug. Anybody who likes to write documentation, call me. Although, to be honest, we actually had somebody who did, and they just, in 5004, they just wrote an incredibly comprehensive document of how to play Mech HQ. Which is
That's what I was actually going to ask about is those tools for those that just find MegaMek or Mech HQ and like where do I go from here after I download things? Are there tools like that for each of the programs?
So in Mech HQ, if you're on 5004, there's the guide. We do have a full collection of video tutorials for MegaMek Lab, Mech HQ, and MegaMek. The good news is MegaMek doesn't change that much. The core mechanics are the same. So you can watch an older video and it's still the same way to move and things like that it was, 10 years ago. It's a little prettier and there's a few extra options, but they're pretty easy to figure out. MegaMek Lab, you have to have tech manual. That's something else other people, we have to remind people is we can't give the rules. Like Catalyst owns the rules. We can't incorporate the rules with a written blow by blow. Like we have to assume you guys have got the books. And we work very closely with Catalyst to say to them, hey, look, we've got MegaMek players and we've got helper texts and hints saying, go to Catalyst's website, download this, buy this, get this. This is what you need. Mech HQ, that's the one because it's so complex, right? Like you can have generational units. And it's really easy to do right now. Like, we've got quite a few players on our Discord now that are playing, they're starting games in 2780 and they're playing games through till 3050.
Oh yeah.
In continuous campaigns, right? Like
I'm one of those.
and it's a lot of people have fun like that.
Yeah, I think I started my first campaign in like 2980 or something, and I've kind of burned through all the way up to like 3067 so far. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, and you've got kids. We got random death where people could just randomly die on you from old age or disease or get murdered. so that's pulled a lot of players in. But unfortunately, you got to watch a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of documentation. I will tell you, we've got a very busy Discord. When we had our Slack channel years ago, we only ever hit about 700 people on the Slack. And at any given time, you'd only ever have 20 or 30 people on. And when we did the Discord, and to be honest, I was against doing the Discord. I got talked into it. When we opened the Discord and closed the Slack, we got 4,400 people on our Discord, and it's busy. Like it's a steady Discord. You can generally get answers. And one of the things I can honestly say I'm very proud of with our Discord is we try and be very open and welcoming, and we get very few boneheaded kind of things that go on. It's just the nature of the Discord. I think it's, we're there, we're focused on it. So to kind of get back to your original questions, if you want to get an entry point in, 4919 is, quote, the most stable release. If you move into the 50s, you're getting into cutting edge code, and so you may get more bugs, or you'll get quirky bugs. One of the reasons that 5004 wasn't declared a milestone is we miss the fact that every day you get a nag in Mech HQ saying, "Do you have prisoners? You have prisoners. You have prisoners," even if you don't have prisoners. But that was something we did new, right? Like, for people who don't know, you can manage prisoners. You can murder prisoners.
Yes,
you can.
You can ransom them.
You
Make
can
that money.
When we implemented campaign operations fatigue, Catalyst has a very obscure rule in campaign operations about field kitchens. So we implemented the field kitchen rule, and our design forum literally exploded with people making field kitchens.
That's hilarious.
It's literally, you can make it as much or as little as you want if you can get past the fact that somebody once described us as looking like accounting software from the year 2000. And really, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, if you guys know, you kind of have to experience MegaMek versus play MegaMek.
Had never thought of it that way, but I like it. It is its own thing, definitely. For sure. It gives me a little bit of nostalgia when I play it, because it's like, oh, in a way, it's kind of like from a bygone era, just with the look of it. But then the functionality, I think, especially lately, is like added so much more to what you can do and what it already does for you. So I like these two pieces of the puzzle for me when I play. So I really love it.
And the other thing that I know a lot of people love about MegaMek is you've got to be a special type of crazy to sit down with tabletop BattleTech and play double blind at night in a snowstorm with heavy winds. Like,
yes,
you really have to be a special kind of nuts to do that, with aerospace on the map, tanks, infantry, the whole 9 yards. And MegaMek, you go in, you click 3 buttons, and you're doing just that.
Yeah, that's the awesome part. All the options, like you're saying, you can make it simple, or you can add in all the campaign ops, all the tech ops, all that stuff with clicks of a button. So, and it does, it does it for you in the background. So you're not running between 2 different rooms in a house.
Yeah. I've played double blind on the tabletop at a guy's house, and it's a lot easier on MekaMek to
do. Did you finish the game?
No, we did not finish the game.
Get 10 hours.
Yeah, you run into the next room and you're like, Atlas to Battle Masters Hex right 2. We see it all the time in Discord. Like, we get people who come wandering into the MegaMek channel and go, I don't understand what's happening, but I could only move 2 hexes. And you're kind of like, you guys, MegaMek's broken and stuff, and you kind of chat with them, and you're like, okay, hang on a second. Let's start off with the basics. Is it night? Yes. And what else is going on? Well, there's something about tornadoes. Okay, so your mechs are moving too because you are currently in a night fight in a tornadoes. What? Yeah, not yet. Yeah, you playing StratCon, you left the weather turned on, and you decided to go into combat in that. And you're
Always
like,
check
oh,
your planetary info before you hit I'm done.
yeah. So, it's amazing what you can experience with the programs. Um, one of our, well, I say it, but a couple of the other developers point out that it's emergent storytelling
Mhm.
is a big way to do it. Like anybody who's ever read any of the novels, we all know the scene, or the mech fights, or the descriptions, the badly beat up mechs that have to go out and win the day. And when you're playing Mech HQ on a guerrilla campaign, you suddenly have that. Like you're managing your supplies, you're trying to figure out how to keep this unit intact and functional, and that's where there's a lot of fun. Meanwhile, you got people, and it's something that we've added is like we've now added personalities. So like they don't do anything right now, but somebody posted on our Discord that they'd rolled a doctor, and the personality came out that the doctor was actually murderous. So
That's awesome.
You've got a Dexter
know,
on the team.
yeah,
So
yeah,
great.
and what this does for us down the road is it allows us to create options to say, okay, now we could have a chance that doctor murders somebody, and now how we present that is it can create a story for the players to figure out. It's like this is a lot of the stuff why we use Mech HQ to drive, and I think that's one of the reasons Mech HQ has really driven the projects. And then during the pandemic, it really did help that we actually had a lot of the commandos came out and said, hey, if you want to play worldwide events, we're willing to let it happen on MegaMek. It's close enough and true enough to the rules that we're willing to look at it. So yeah, it's so when we talk about current versions and highlights, there's a lot here. Like I feel like I've been talking the whole time and haven't touched on anything.
No, I mean it's great just because I know, like I said, when I was overseas, MegaMek was my only way to get my BattleTech fix on, and when I came back to the States and kind of did some life things for a little while, when I started getting back into it, the first right around the pandemic time frame was like, oh man, I need to find some place to play against some other people too, because I've been playing Princess for so long, we were like roommates at that point, and that's how I ended up, finding Wolfnet and getting involved when they were having MegaMek games on Friday nights and Saturdays and playing guys from all over the world, just on chat, just chatting it up and playing MegaMek. It was great, I mean, there's so many things to do with it. You can run campaigns, you can run, just set up a game and play it quick, and it's phenomenal because it's got all the stuff there that you can play with the advanced rules, you can not play with the advanced rules, you can turn on quirks, you can turn off quirks. It's all those things there that, depending on what you want to do and how you want to play. So it's a fantastic product.
And your story is one that I've heard countless times. We,
Absolutely.
probably back in like 2018, 2019, we used to regularly hear from people who had served overseas. They'd been in Iraq or Afghanistan, and MegaMek was all they had, and
Hmm.
They'd play MegaMek because they could figure out how to play it locally between two laptops. They could do all of that type of stuff. So it's yeah, it's interesting because we've been around since 2002 is when the first public releases of the code came out. So we're not we're not a spring chicken of a program, which is
Yeah.
both good
Yeah.
and bad, right?
Yeah. I
That's why
mean,
we
you
look.
have been doing stuff. I mean, like I said, I think the first version I remember getting into was like one of the 20 versions, like 2023 or 24, when I downloaded a stable version and was like, let me check this thing out. And that had been about 05, 06, I think, maybe. And, remembering where I came from, because I was looking for a replacement for Mech Commander, because I loved Mech Commander when Mech Commander 1 and Mech Commander 2 when they were out. And finding that replacement in MegaMek a little bit and allowed me to tailor it to my own playstyle, whereas Mech Commander you just ran the campaign with what they had and that was it, having MegaMek there to really start off a lot of campaigns and stuff. That's when the BattleTech forums were big back in the day, because Discord didn't exist and Slack didn't exist, and none of these things existed other than the forums. And I remember using MegaMek as our way to do an online campaign where we would write up what our characters are doing and then go and play MegaMek, with guys. So it was phenomenal to be able to do that 20 some years ago, and even now it's still going on. So it's the longevity of the product is proven in the last 20 years for sure.
It's interesting. I asked somebody asked me actually a few months ago, and they said, how long are you going to be around for MegaMek? And I said, well, I said, do you remember the in for life trait? And I said, I can't see me not, I can't see me not being involved with MegaMek for a long time. I may ebb and flow and roles change and things like that. But I think that's a statement to how the program is. We've got a developer right now who goes back to the early years. He disappears for 2 or 3 years, comes back, does a huge project, disappears for 2 or 3 years, and then comes back. So, there's something about the project. It just, once people see it and sense it, they either love it or they hate it, to be very honest. We're not going to be MechWarrior 5. We never will be. But, if you can, I think the first time, the first time Princess, takes a gauss shot and takes your head off from across the map, or ludicrously charges to point blank range and decides to try and curb stomp you to death, you either love it or you hate it. And, and that kind of goes back to the comments about our favorite little sociopath, right? So, and that's something else too. Like, there's so much character within MegaMek too, as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've messed around with the different settings for MegaMek for countless years, and I've come to feel like Princess has her own little character, her own little mindset, and you always know that she's gonna roll 12s when she needs 12s.
There's a lot of people, like, we get that, and that feeds that Java, the Java bias, I think you could kind of say. But I'll say it's kind of it's kind of interesting. That's why you guys must have saw the announcements we put out probably about a month and a half ago about Casper.
Yeah.
And that was fun writing that one. I had a lot of fun writing the Casper intro that's on our website. But the truth of the matter is, we've taken Princess about as far as we can. I think a lot of people know that Princess started as a college student's project, and it was to create a faster bot than TestBot, because TestBot used to be really slow. And she's evolved and evolved and evolved, but she still has bad habits. She's prone to racing up and turning her back, which is kind of like trying to moon you, and then she'll take multiple AC-20s to the backside and kill her. So that's where the Casper evolution is. And here's an interesting plug for people. When 5005 drops in the logs, there's going to be, every time you play, there's going to be what's called a TSV file generated. and it's if you play against Princess or you play against Human, and it's a summary file of all the different types of movement, and then the developer who's working on Casper is taking those files when players send them in and putting them into this crazy program that analyzes the battle and then works to start to train the next generation of Princess, which will be known as Casper. And of course, that's a direct throwback to poor old Karansky trying to take Terra back.
That sounds horrifying. I already have heard enough time with Princess.
Yeah. I will be honest. I've seen some early work on Casper, and Casper is definitely in the infancy and has a long way to go. But we're already seeing glimmers of hope and patterns, because the sad truth is, Princess, as much as she's lovable, if you play her enough, she starts to get predictable. But again, it goes back to how the programs work, right? And how that evolution is. And we can't also downplay the fact we have public servers where, people can jump in and play their buddies. Like, all of a sudden you can turn, without Mech HQ, you've just got a straight beer and pretzels game of BattleTech on a server. And our public servers, they stay busy. I would say I see games on there almost every night, because we get the logs when we're doing the maintenance, and you look back and it's a couple of people play it every night. And people have their favorite servers now that they need to go on. People just have to be on Hell's Horses or have to be on Ghost Bear or all of that stuff.
Do you, when you're going to use one of the servers from, are they all listed on the Discord, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a voice channel associated with each of those then?
On our Discord, there is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was just wondering, if people want to use, because I've often played over on the MRC, and sometimes they just run out of servers there. So I've often wondered, I wonder, if we can just hop over and use one of the servers on
100%.
The MegaMek Discord. So sounds
100%.
like so. Cool.
Yep, absolutely. And we've got so when we look at the servers, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 of them that are running 49.19.1, which is the milestone. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have another 10 that are running various development servers and stuff like that. So for different development versions and stuff. So yeah, absolutely. And then if anybody needs a hand with the servers, they can just ping us on the Discord, and generally one of us is around. All the developers are pretty much North America based or South America based. We do have a couple that are in Germany, but they don't have access to the servers. So, but yeah, no, anything like that's what they're there for.
I've really, really liked those servers, being out there, because I've had, I'll say, a fair amount of issues trying to directly connect to another individual with their computer, and going through firewalls and trying to navigate that. But having a server and just plopping down in and connecting to it, man, that cuts the frustration out quite a bit. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we're now living in a world where there's so much bad stuff on the internet that ISPs have made it really hard to open ports and to get port forwarding working correctly. And the bad news is, we would love to be able to provide people technical support for direct connections, but we can't, right? Because there's too many variables that come from the ISP. There's too many variables that come from, the router or the modem or whatever the hardware is. Then there's, what's your operating system? And it just, unfortunately, you're really on your own when you're trying to figure out how to get those ports open. But the public servers just connect to them and play away and reset them if you need to. And if for some reasons, we do get people that walk away from the servers mid-game and leave them hung in mid-game, and players don't know how to do that. So
I've come across some of those.
So you go in and you just you hit reset, and that takes you back to the lobby, and then you can reset out again. We have had conversations about can we improve the dedicated server experience? But they're kind of really early on, and I think the bad part I would say too is people who do the net coding are different than the type of people who do just regular coding. So, you kind of have to have somebody who understands, how that works. And we have developers that do understand that, but because again, everybody works on what they want to work on, you know, people generally like doing glamorous things versus chasing bugs down or doing quality of life stuff.
Sure, that makes sense. So, with that being said, I don't know if I can ask what do you foresee for the future for MegaMek or for any of
So,
the three, I guess.
yeah. So to be honest with you, there are some, you know, plans, I guess you could say, and I'm going to put air quotes around plans. Um, when we look at MegaMek specifically, um, it's in a pretty good place right now. So some of the stuff that we are looking at doing is continuing to improve and fix bugs. We are doing a staggering amount of code optimization and cleanup, modernizing code behind the scenes. But some of the fun stuff we're doing is we have a long-standing issue where we aren't doing armor and piloting skill rolls correctly, like for hardened armor and stuff like that. So we're working on getting that fixed, which is a big one. Um, we can now build handheld weapons in MegaMek Lab. And I will just cryptically say that once you can build something, then people want to use it. And we might be working, very hard on getting handheld weapons used.
Interesting.
We did some preliminary work on strategic battle force long term. That's in the plans. We want to be able to have a true strategic battle force play mode in MegaMek. We're looking at a lot of stuff around maps and looking at things like trying to generate out like a world map. So if you think about it, it opens the door for rolling maps. So you could effectively walk off a map onto a new map, which means that pesky off-board artillery that's annoying the heck out of you. You can just say screw this and send a locust after it.
I like that. That sounds really cool.
We are continuing to develop Casper. That's something else we're looking for there. We know we need to do something. We need to do something with buildings because our building code actually goes back to City Tech, just to put it in perspective how old the code is. So it's functional and does work, but it's not following the current rules. So we have a developer who is starting to look at what it would take to update our buildings to properly reflect the TAC Ops rules, which would then mean we would have proper emplacements and proper turrets, because everybody loves playing our maps with turrets. We're looking into rail. We've got some art issues we got to resolve around that. We've got something. We implemented the ability to pick stuff up and carry it off the map, like grab a cargo container and take it off the map.
Oh, that'd be cool for objectives. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's implemented and in place. But if you think about it, if you've got a cargo container in your hand, if you think about what the most logical, fun thing to potentially do with that cargo container,
always throw it, right?
Yeah, maybe, perhaps, hint, is something we're looking at doing. Which, if we can throw cargo containers, I think everybody wants to be able to throw, paraphrase Gimli, the whole tossing bit there. That's, I think, broad strokes. That's what I would say for MegaMek. In MegaMek Lab, we've got some huge changes that are just coming out or will be coming out over the next couple of releases. We now have the ability to do multi-tab units, so you can have tabs of different units open across the top. You can drag a tab out to create another instance of MegaMek. You can lock a tab in. A lot of quality of life stuff at MegaMek Lab. We've got some. We just redid our advanced search, but we're probably going to do some more tweaks to advanced search. We've got a ton of changes and improvements coming to record sheets, including some new options for players who want to be able to print things with record sheets. And at the same time, we will stay true to Catalyst's requirements for the record sheets we produce for them. Mech HQ, wow. What do we got planned there? So, Mech HQ, short term, we are working on a lot of kind of personnel kind of systems. So, and what I mean by personnel systems is continue to expand various personal modules, like how the players are. A big one that we've started to implement is the time of war skills. So it's kind of going to be a longer term project, but what will eventually happen is we want to have all the ATOW skills in Mech HQ, so you could make your character on tabletop, put them in Mech HQ, and then we're experimenting and looking at ways to do skill rolls for things. So, like, we could have a random event, and in that random event, you might have a player. If one of your players, for example, has an art skill and knows how to play the lute, they could make a roll on the lute and see, did they successfully roll their lute skill to successfully subdue the grand dragon that's coming at you. That's a big one. We have the company creator, which is the fast start, where you can roll up a company. We're planning to redo that this year. Kind of a much more comprehensive one, because right now you can only roll up a mech company. And what we want to be able to do is give players the ability to roll up a complete combined arms formation or any type of formation from any era and any faction. So that's on the list to do. There is some big stuff in the distant horizon for StratCon. We're not really I can't really disclose too much about it, but if we can pull it off like we want to pull it off, StratCon will take on a whole new definition. Not only will you'll manage your unit, but cough, persistent op for cough.
That'd be cool.
And when does that happen? When does StratCon occur?
We're probably, best case scenario, that big StratCon overhauls would be much later this year, truthfully, probably in the winter. We've got a whole lot of stuff we've got to lay groundwork for.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm going to cryptically say to people is, if you start looking at the release notes and going back to kind of 5002 and over the next few releases, you're going to start to see really kind of odd systems that seem to be dropping in and being created. And it kind of seems weird why we're creating these systems. But if you take a step back and go, well, why would they need a company generator that can generate any force, anywhere, anytime, in any era? Why do we need players to have skill check rolls? Why do we now have convoys and logistics and convoys that are on maps?
It's a grand conspiracy.
If you start putting all... Sorry?
It's a grand conspiracy.
Yeah, if you start putting all those pieces together and you start sitting back, all of a sudden you go, we've redone all our planet files, so people can now edit the planet files for faction ownership. So there's a little something there. We'll have an editor that'll be able to do that. We actually have an alpha of the editor out right now for players that are curious about it. It's buggy, but it does work. We're in cahoots with Sarna and Sux on universal data. Don't really want to talk too much more about that, but if you know what Sux is and everybody knows Sarna, and you put the three of us together and you can kind of get a sense of where we're going to be going long term with that. A lot of stuff. A lot of interesting stuff and plans. A lot of this, remember, we're volunteers. So
Yeah.
if a volunteer does decide to leave the project, there's a high likelihood that that concept or idea will leave with them. But as of today, that's kind of some of the stuff we're looking at doing. What else have we got? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can tease you guys here that was there. We are looking. One of the things we're looking for also on the Mech HQ side is we're having lots of conversations about if we could implement the salvage rules as written in campaign operations. And this next comment will probably bother a couple of people who listen, but just trust us, we know what we're doing. Is we're trying to balance the power creep in Mech HQ. It's very easy with the current rule set to very quickly get to the point where you've got 5 billion C-bills in the bank. Every
Yeah.
unit is perfectly elite. You can, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'll take 2 of those overlords over there, please.
Right.
And what we find consistently, we hear from players is they get that point, they realize it's no longer fun to play, so they quit. So what we're trying to do is rebalance a lot of that stuff. So, this, starting to work on better balancing contracts and prices and stuff, and give more challenges to the players. Like, we're trying to make it that when you roll a contract, if you roll up against elite forces, we've had some bugs in the past where you'd go up against a Class A elite clan cluster, and we're rolling 6/6 pilots and elementals against you, like stuff like that. We want to work on fixing. We want to make it that if you take a 5 skull campaign, that you're gonna pay in blood for what you get. So lots of stuff like that. We have another fun one that I don't think we'll get into this year, but we do want to implement something that we're calling a loss. So kind of an RPG element where you would start to get hints for lost tech and potentially find ways to explore that. And depending what era you're in, that lost tech could be, either really useful or just cheap and easy to sell.
That'd be cool.
So
I'm a huge fan of, rolling up a character and then using that character on the tabletop. So I'm really stoked about this A Time of War record sheet thing and how that's going to interact in Mech HQ. So I can't wait.
yeah, and you'll start to see that. You're going to start to see that in the next release, because we've got the very very early pieces of it that are going to start coming in, and then they're going to start to evolve over time from there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I love having kind of a pre-built campaign that I don't really have to think about too much. I can manage my units. I can do all the contract stuff. I can go and play the MegaMek battles and stuff like that, which is always a blast. But it's one of those things with Mech HQ and even as a sometime writer for Catalyst, I use Mech HQ a lot just to figure out transit times.
Yeah.
That's a huge boon for any writer to make sure that what I'm writing is going to be accurate with the transit times between planets, between systems, and all that kind of stuff. So that's a huge thing that I know a lot of the writers use as a tool to make sure the writing is accurate. Same for Mech Lab too. Making sure we're using accurate things from the rec guides, from checking all those things to make sure that the accuracy in the writing is consistent with the other products that are out there.
Yeah, and I think that's all stuff that we know we want to continue to support. Like, we do have a developer. I think anybody who's a longtime BattleTech person knows who Cray is. One of the things that we've got mapped out, I don't know when we would do it, but part of what we want to do is have pirate points in Mech HQ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, it's just math, right? And hey, we all have computers that can do math. So all of a sudden we can open a narrative storytelling situation of, you're going to jump into this system and we can say to you, do you want to jump into the jump point or do you want to jump into the pirate point? And if you want to jump into the pirate point, you need to make the necessary rolls. But instead of taking 11 days to get to the planet, you'll have 2 days to get to the planet. And we can then model stuff to represent you arriving earlier. But hey, you could run the risk of a misjump. So that's kind of the stuff we want to evolve and include through the programs to give player choice, player agency is something we really do want to evolve into with Mech HQ in particular. We want you to be a commander and have to make choices.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal.
So.
Yeah, I love it. I just love how easy it makes playing classic BattleTech. I'll be honest, it really knocks down the time required, I think, in a lot of ways. Just because you're not having to do the rolls or whatnot. It's just populates it on the damage on for you and everything. So I just really appreciate it for that. Even just single games. But the aspect of like continuous campaigns, I think, is where it even shines even more. And I think you're kind of really talking about that, both of you guys. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and that, to be honest with you, there was a lot of times that people asked us about if we were going to create Mega Strike, and it just suddenly dawned on us that it didn't make sense to do Mega Strike because MegaMek takes tabletop BattleTech and effectively makes it almost play at Alpha Strike speeds, which is why we've cryptically talked about it, but that's why we've realized for us it'll be strategic battle force is what we'll look at doing. It's and just for everybody, just to be very clear, this is still stuff that's probably a year or two out, but that's kind of where we're looking, is to have a strategic battle force option. And that, by the way, would work with Mech HQ. Your unit would come in to MegaMek. You'd have an option to play the battle with strategic battle force or with regular MegaMek.
That's dope. I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so much cool stuff.
With the Mech HQ, for individuals that are GMing at home stuff, a lot of that background record keeping stuff. So like, if I recall right, you can play the games in tabletop and then translate everything and like do all the bookkeeping and everything in Mech HQ.
Yes.
Yep.
It is. You can actually. There's a manual mode that not a lot of people know about in Mech HQ, where you can build a mission, basically a contract, build scenarios in there, assign units from the TOEs and stuff like that you keep in Mech HQ. And then instead of launching it into MegaMek, you print the record sheets. You could play the game, and then what you have to do is you do the resolution, and then you just have to manually enter the data back in, like manually enter the damages and stuff that you took. And then from there, you can play it out. There's actually quite a few people I've talked to over the years that use Mech HQ exclusively for that, to manage their tabletop campaign. And they don't mind doing the record sheet paper, because what's happened is they've all got down to the point that they now know it, they just change how they keep the bookkeeping in the game.
Yeah, it's probably still faster to translate the damage and everything into Mech HQ than flipping through the rule book to find the page to do the rolls for the damage and like the repairs and all this stuff. And now I've got to flip to this page. All right, and what do I need to roll to find this part? What's its rarity? All this stuff. And the game can just, or the Mech HQ can just do all that for you.
Exactly. And then you have you'll have your tech team sitting as an aside, and you're managing your tech teams, you're evolving and promoting and doing all of that stuff. So no, you're absolutely right there. It's a very it's a method that a lot of players aren't aware of exists. Part of it again goes back to the fact we suck at documentation, and StratCon, and it really takes a lot of the air out of the room when people are looking at other ways to use the programs. But there's a guy on the Discord. Here's a fun one for you. He uses MekHQ for one thing and one thing only. He tracks all of the mechs from the Kickstarter campaigns, the minis, and he puts them into MekHQ. So he tracks his entire inventory of BattleTech minis in MekHQ. And because we have
That's smart.
and because we have so many camo schemes, he's actually able to group them into their boxes, and then he's able to assign individual camos to each individual ones. So he can just quickly go in MekHQ, look and search for a unit, see the camo that he put on it and stuff like that. And he keeps the ones that don't have camo, he just keeps them white in color. So anytime he sees a white mech, he knows, it's in this force pack and I haven't painted it.
Smart.
Scratches that on my to-do list.
That beats my spreadsheet for sure.
Oh yeah. So I have a question. It might be a little on the controversial side, and it may just end up being nothing.
Sure.
But with the proliferation and onset of AI, what is the future of MegaMek in this AI world?
It's a really good question. So we actually, first of all, we have an AI policy that's in the program. And we use AI as a tool for certain things. So to be very, very specific, a lot of our code reviews in GitHub are done by, there's AI behind the scenes that's doing code checks to make sure our code is good and quality and stuff like that. We test code with AI sometimes. On the data side, we'll often use AI for editing. So what we'll do is when we want to write unit fluff, we can't we can't just cut and paste out of the TROs, right? Because that's a huge copyright infringement. But what we can do is take that, dictate into something like ChatGPT our own thoughts on the unit, and then ask it to write fluff for us and re-edit and stuff like that. We use tools for that. We do have the portrait pack that's in MekHQ. The faces were all done by AI. And then we had an artist do the actual backdrop and stuff. So AI, our approach to it and how we look at AI for MegaMek is it's a tool to support the programs. It's never going to be something that does the programs, if you know what I mean. Code reviews, helping edit files. I don't see us doing a lot beyond, like, the portrait pack was the only thing we really did for the AI art. The problem with AI art is you can tell, like, it no matter how good AI art gets, no matter how good Midjourney gets, DALL-E gets, any of them get, they can't truly capture or represent the essence of the BattleTech universe from an art point of view.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was recently in a class, learning Python code, and he was like, "Yeah, you can tell ChatGPT to write Python code for you. It's just like you put in a quick prompt, and then boom, like there's all this code that the AI is writing for you." So I was like, "Oh, damn."
Yeah, and to be honest with you, in some of our data projects, I've used, like, I can do a little bit. I can't code in Java well. I code a little better in Python, but a lot of times I'll start working on a project. Like, there's a super secret project that I can't talk about that involves a huge amount of data bending and manipulation out of our XML files. And it's doing that by hand is tedious, but Python script with a little bit of AI support to help take my clumsy and streamline it and help me fix bugs has got me a Python script that's working pretty good for one of our big long-term projects. So my take, it's a tool, and it should always be treated as such. It's a tool. It doesn't replace the human. It doesn't replace the artist, most importantly. But it's just something that can be, like it's helped instrument like hugely actually with some of our code reviews, like how we've done it, like Copilot and stuff like that. When we we do pull requests up, and behind the scenes it'll look at it and say, you're kind of an idiot. You've got two variables here that you haven't defined. This variable isn't hooked up. This code is going to turn into a null pointer exemption. So stuff like that is how we utilize it.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions we might have?
And that was my big one that was on my mind. Most folks know at this point I've got a newer computer, so I don't have MegaMek on it, and I was literally about to install it, and then he was like, next week. I was like, okay, I can wait.
Yeah, I guess
you gotta get familiar. You gotta get familiar first.
Yeah, there you go. My
When
last
you do the
question.
Java,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say for Mike there, when you do the Java, do Java 17 and make sure you follow our install directions really, really closely, especially step 6 and the reboots.
Yes.
And if you need any help, just you know where to find me or our Discord to help you out.
Oh, I'm in there.
Yeah, following the directions closely on that Java install was key for me getting into the game again.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, when we started, where was it, like 3 years ago, when it was still like COVID times, and we were doing a lot of MegaMek stuff in the Colorado area. I think it was like in the podcast's infancy, so probably 2.5 years ago at this point. I had set up my laptop to be a dedicated server for the Colorado area, and it took me hours to figure out how to do that, and then I eventually figured it out, and then I immediately data dumped everything. But yeah, having, like Matt said, having the server list available to go to, super clutch, because trying to figure out direct connection can be a bit of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say it again. We would love to be able to help more people out with that, but it's just the way the world is right now. It is just so difficult for us to help.
Yeah, I get it.
The port forwarding. And really the other thing we find in a lot of cases is truthfully the ISPs have literally made it that you can't port forward anymore. So you need to call them to do the port forwarding, and until they do that, you can't. Nothing we do would help until they enable that on their end.
Yeah, I guess my last question would be to you, Hammer. If you could give like a 2 to 3 minute, someone who's never tried out MegaMek or any of the other products, why should they try it, and what's the benefit to them?
Sure. Not trying to make it sound like a radio commercial or anything, but a lot of people right now, they want to play BattleTech and they can't. They're remote. Their friends are distant. They're the only person in a small town. They're in love with the universe, and they need the experience. They want to experience the game. And we're not tabletop, right? We will never have that same tactile ability to pick up a piece and move it on the map and shove your buddy when you hit him with a PPC. But what we can do is we can give you the ability to experience BattleTech both from a solo point of view, like if you want to play a campaign, if you want to have a generational unit, you want to have your own Grey Death Legion, your own Wolf's Dragoons, you have that ability to do that. And as an extension of that, you also have the ability to get connected through Discord, and a variety of Discords exist with player services. We have it, MRC has it. Anywhere there's BattleTech, you can find players that will get connected. And it allows you to connect to that community and play a BattleTech game and experience the fun and have the stories, because we all remember that moment when you needed to roll the 12 and you rolled the 12, or when you had the surefire and you missed the XCOM experience, right? And that's what these programs afford. That's what gives the ability, and what's unique, because MegaMek Lab, MekHQ, you can play solo. And then with a click of a button, you can suddenly open and play other players and join a huge community. So it gives a range of options, a range of play styles. Something else I'll also mention strictly to MegaMek, a lot of players want to try advanced rules, but they've also come to realize they can't do advanced rules on tabletop, but they really want to play weather or they really want to play night. Well, MegaMek affords them that ability to do it. And the first time somebody plays MegaMek double blind against another human, and all of a sudden there's just a sensor ping on the map, and you don't know what it is, kind of an exciting experience. So these are kind of all things to consider about the program. And I would also say, as a final piece of this, is, and this is specific to our Discord, if you're thinking about wanting to give MegaMek a try, join our Discord. The links are on our website. We're an open, welcoming community. We've got people there that are around all the time to try and help and answer questions. We've got places you can hunt and find stuff to get things. A lot of us will take the time necessary to help get you up and running with the program. And, a lot of people we've seen start with MegaMek and then they broaden their horizons to play tabletop BattleTech. We hear it all the time. Oh, I decided to go to Adepticon. I decided to go to Gen Con. And they get there and the only experience they've had is with MegaMek. And now they're playing BattleTech. So that's kind of my 2 or 3 minute rambling thoughts on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's all we got for you, Dave. If you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to stick around. We're going to talk about some Adepticon things and the drink of the month. And if you want to take off, that's fine too. No hard feelings whatsoever. We appreciate you coming on.
No, I appreciate it.
Sure.
I think I am going to drop. I was, as I said at the start, it's my first day back after 3 weeks of vacation. So
Yeah.
I think I'm ready for a break from the computer for a couple of hours, go play with the cats, and
that's fair.
Catch a couple of TV shows with the wife. But I'll keep an eye. Let me know when the podcast drops because I totally want to give it this one a listen and see if I'm as rambling as I think I am.
Yeah,
that was awesome rambling. Yeah.
One of the things we usually do towards the end, and I'm pretty sure Mike can probably cut it and add it on to the end.
Do the post magic.
Yeah, do some editing magic. We do shout outs, so if you got anybody you want to shout out or say thank you to or anything like that, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, then I'll do that really quick here if that's how it works.
Yep.
As a shout out, I just want to first of all thank everybody for giving the podcast a listen. I want to thank everybody who plays any of the programs. A big thank you for doing that. It's from all the developers. We truly appreciate everybody's engagement with the programs. It's people playing and giving us feedback and sharing the excitement that helps us stay engaged to make more with the programs. And I'm one person that's part of a team. I'm just the old guy on the MegaMek team, and I don't code. So the people who really need to shout out are the coders. The people that I work with and collaborate with who write the code, do the art, keep the website going. You know who you are if you're listening. I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate that. And for any of the player base, please just, keep playing.
Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's fantastic. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, man, and spending some time with us and kind of getting more of the behind the scenes look at all things MegaMek.
I really appreciate you guys reaching out and inviting. It's been a blast. I always love talking about the programs, connecting with the community, and hopefully this isn't the first time that this isn't the first and last time you guys have me on to
No, not at all, man. Once you're on the show, you can come back at any point.
Perfect. Well, later this year, when I got some exciting stuff that hopefully will come true, I can come on and share that with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I hope
100%.
lastly, I hope that I hope our community, there's a bunch of people here when they hear the podcast joins, who aren't aware of you guys, jump over and join your podcast, because these community podcasts for BattleTech are critically important for keeping the community alive and engaged.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah.
All
have a
right.
good
Thanks,
night.
man. And we'll go to the drink of the month. Hey all, this is Ben here, your BattleTech Master of Spirits. Get your mixers, liquors, shakers, stirrers, and strainers ready as we cover this month's BattleTech Drink of the Month. We're going to call this one the Jumpship. Don't ask me why. The Jumpship consists of 1 ounce of cream, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1.5 ounces of gin, and 4 dashes of grenadine. Shake well and pour it over ice. And it'll take you to new places.
I was going to say, is that because it makes you feel like you opened up a wormhole and traveled through space-time?
Exactly.
After about 10 of them.
They're so drinkable too. I not mix one up.
That's the problem with well-made drinks, is you don't know until you're fucking gone, dude.
When I got to number 3, I was like, "Ooh, this is."
We traveled we just traveled to Steiner territory. Shit.
Get out now.
Going at ludicrous speed now.
Ludicrous speed.
So you're saying it's delicious and smooth.
It is pretty smooth.
There's no bourbon in it, and he likes it. Oh man!
I was on a weak point. I didn't have any bourbon available, so I was like, "Well, let me try this out."
Ben's gone soft.
Well, I had to go buy a bottle of bourbon to wash the taste out of my mouth.
Yeah, wash it down after. Yeah, some bullet.
Some of the roughest stuff I could find. I think I got some old Virginia gentleman.
Never heard of it, so I'm sure it's terrible.
It's like a $10 bottle of bourbon.
It's like bourbon's version of some Popov.
Kind of. It's almost as good as like the old Steel Reserve.
Ugh.
Oh man, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. You could replace the gin with bourbon, but I don't think it would go quite the same as with the cream and lemon juice and grenadine.
No, it probably wouldn't.
No. So, but that's your drink of the month.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Return and report. I think Matt and we haven't talked about Adepticon.
It's true, we have not.
We have not. We've been
on season.
Ever since you got me sick, I haven't talked to you.
I'm the worst person ever. I did it.
Convention season is here.
And Charles, too.
Oh, man.
Did Charles get sick?
Yeah, he came down with
Charles gets sick every single time.
I messaged him last week. I was like, "Hey man, how you doing? We haven't talked since it's car ride home." And he's like, "Yeah, I had to go to the doctor and I got pneumonia." I was like, "Oh,
what?
Good Lord!"
You guys drove pneumonia?
No, I don't know. You had something because
I had some congestion in the chest, not pneumonia.
Man, I am still coughing up crap.
Powerful. I'm a powerful man.
That shit hit me on, I think, Wednesday, because we drove back on Sunday, Monday, and that shit hit me on Wednesday, and I was like you in the hotel room, man, sleeping up for like 3 days.
I'm the worst.
Like,
I'm the worst
packing up
roomie
stuff.
ever.
Oh, it was rough. But no, man. So Adepticon. So I don't know how much we want to get into.
We didn't just get people sick.
We didn't just get people sick.
More than that happened? Okay.
Yes.
More than that happened, for sure. For sure.
There was like a 50-foot tall banner.
Yes. Oh, man. So Adepticon was the weekend of... When was that? Last weekend in March?
Last weekend in March, yeah.
Yeah. in Milwaukee, and it was a fun little trip. Charles Gideon from WolfNet, and I drove from Denver to Milwaukee. It took us 2 days
No
because we
blizzards
didn't
this
want to kill
time?
ourselves. Huh?
No blizzards this time?
No blizzards. No
On the
blizzards.
way
Okay, cool,
there.
cool.
The
On
way
the way
back,
back.
we got a little bit of snow. Hit a little bit of snow, but it wasn't too bad. But yeah, we drove from Denver to Omaha, spent the night in Omaha, then drove Omaha to Milwaukee the next day, and then left on Monday, got to Milwaukee on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, what the hell did we do? Oh, we went and helped set up the gaming areas and kind of walked around the downtown area of Milwaukee, which is a fascinating place because I'd never been to Milwaukee before. I didn't realize that things closed at like 5 p.m. every day.
That's terrible.
Hey, it was like 6, okay?
It was like 6, but when you get out of
That's
the game
just as
hall
bad.
at like 9 o'clock at night and you're like, I'm freaking hungry. I want to have like more food than just a concession stand food.
Not even McDonald's?
No, no.
What the
There's
hell?
nothing, man. It was like everything was closed down. Like I remember we walked into, I don't know, where were you, Matt? Were you with me and Charles when we walked into that hotel restaurant at like, it was like 8:30 or something like that at night,
And they were like closing down or something.
and they were like getting ready to close at 9.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, I guess we'll go find someplace else.
Was there a Walmart even open that you could go get a wrap or some cold cuts
No.
at, you know?
I mean, you had to drive like 10 minutes to get anywhere.
We had some struggles finding food late at night. Well,
driving
yes.
10 minutes to get somewhere is probably a lot for you city folk, all right?
Well, I mean, when you have to get on a highway to get there, to me, that's like a bridge too far.
Yeah,
but
that was a struggle. But the game,
the venue was good. You know, the Adepticon was interesting. I'd never experienced high end security like they had at Adepticon.
It appeared to be high end security. There was like a lot of security people, but the actual secureness, I'm not so sure about.
I don't know what they were looking for, because
soda cans. I don't know.
There were days when it was like they wanted to look at everything, and you're like, okay, I guess. Unzip your backpack. Okay. Hey, the metal detector went off. What do you got on you? This metal? I don't know. My keys. What are we talking
My metal
about?
minis.
This large case of metal minis and stuff.
Yeah.
But aside from those, the food problem and the security inconsistencies, the venue was cool. The vendor hall was odd to me, just because it was in the middle, upstairs in the middle was the vendor hall, but then you had gaming going on either side of it in this huge like hall, basically.
Yeah, and then you had other vendors in the hall, like the actual walkthrough hall.
Right, right.
So it was like they didn't give enough space in the middle there for everyone to get in, and then they put games in. It was weird.
Well, they didn't want to put all the gaming stuff out in the hallways because I guess that would the feng shui or something. But it was a very interesting first time at Adepticon. And I know it's a new venue too, because they moved from Chicago last year after being in Chicago for like, what, 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know. This was my first Adepticon as well, but I think they had been there in Schaumburg for quite a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we spent Wednesday kind of helping set up and getting things organized for Thursday and the rest of the weekend. And then Maddie showed up on Wednesday night.
Yep.
And of course, we stayed up way too late.
That was a common theme.
You guys never do that. What?
We were only up till like 2 or 3 that night. So.
Yeah, I think it was 2 when I finally
time.
pulled my hood over my head and I was like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
That is on time for a podcaster get together on weekend.
Yeah. It was.
So we did that Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning we got up too early. And Thursday was doubles day.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Matt, how did your doubles experience go?
Well, doubles. I kind of got on tickets a little bit late for individual events and
I
stuff.
was
So,
sorry.
no, that wasn't your fault. But so I got in contact with Greg W, Mr. Towels himself, and was wondering, hey, are you still looking for a partner? And he was still looking for one. So I jumped on doubles with him, and doubles with Greg was he has a really good plan, and I'm just going to follow it. So that's what happened for the 3 rounds of Alpha Strike doubles on Thursday. He had a really
Did you
great
call him
plan.
Commander? Yes, Commander.
I should have because he's dressed in great regalia and he's always dressed up for these things, but I'm just the humble servant that comes along and kind of pushes things around and says, okay, you got a great idea, I'll just follow that thing. The list was titled 4 legs are better than 2, and this was because all we had were units with 4 legs or their carriers, essentially. So we had, and this was great because I was looking for a reason to paint my Scorpion and Goliath from the Kickstarter. So we had a Scorpion and a Goliath each, and then we had 4 battle armor that were quad battle armor. We had some Maxims to carry each of them, and then we had one. Which hovercraft was it? I can't remember what hovercraft. A 22
was it
inch
hovercraft?
Yeah, well, it was a 22-inch mover. I can't remember which one it was.
It was a skimmer, I'm sure.
It was not a skimmer. I could not see. That's a bridge too far for me. Get them out. Get them out. But the idea was these. If you get these quad battle armor in short range, one set. So we had 2 of each sets, and I forget what they are. But one was the
Seraph?
no, it's not the Seraph.
No.
What am I thinking of? The
Rottweiler?
Sloths. Yeah, the
Sloth.
Sloths. So Sloths do 3 damage at short range. So if you throw them around on the back, it's 4. And that's a pair together. So that's either 6 or 8 damage on something. And then the Fenrir's do 4 damage at short range. So that's like 4 or 5 in the rear. A pair of those doing either 8 or 10 damage. So you drop in all 4, and each of us had 4. So that's 8 of these battle armor on any of the objectives or on anything that needs to be killed. And people's faces when they saw what was happening, they were displeased.
Did you create a negative play experience?
This for some, I think for our last match there may have been a small portion of negative play experience, but that was because they didn't. Yeah, they saw what was coming and did not like that.
Okay, you can't call every unprepared opponent. You can't refer to their loss as a negative play experience.
Well, yeah, there were people when they found out what was happening that they didn't want to have that happen to them. I'll say that. But they just threw out so much damage at short range, and the way that the doubles objectives are set up, it kind of played into the strength of just getting these things, surrounding the opponent's units and just blasting them away, and then holding the objective. So, we played 3 rounds and we won all 3 rounds. It was some rounds were more difficult than others. We still had to work for it, but those battle armor were absolutely terrifying, and I would not like to face the list that we threw down. But we ended up 3-0, and we scored enough MOV to pull out first place. So Greg, way to go. The big W. Greg powered it up, and I saw it through. So yeah, it was my first time playing doubles, and it was great to get the big win, get the big medal to take home. They were gigantic medals. Like I was scared to like throw it around or something because it would brain someone. Man,
it was a pretty hefty medal, man. I'll give you that. It was a lot better than when as a fellow first place winner in doubles from Gen Con, I, when they did the awards at Gen Con, they gave a single like glass plaque to the doubles winners, and we're just like, how do we cut this in half? Like, only one of us gets to take this home.
It's a little bit more difficult to split that,
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it
It was a
was
good
good.
time.
My first doubles, so it was good. We played some good opponents. Had a good time, and yeah, worked out in the end. And Greg's always full of good ideas. So if you need some help with your list, talk to Greg W. So there you go. What about you, Ben?
So Charles, Gideon, and I teamed up from from the go,
You didn't want
and
to play against each other this time?
we didn't want to play. Well, funny enough, we didn't play against each other the entire convention.
What?
I
We
know, it
broke
was
the
weird.
mold. We broke the mold. So I think it's because we teamed up. Two, we gave each other Christmas gifts this year. So I think karma was looking at us sidewise. But we teamed up going on to the theme of what was it? Opposites, polar opposites, or uh, opposing forces. Because he had a DCMS force and I had a Clan Smoke Jaguar force.
What? They're friends. What are you talking about?
And not in Clan Invasion.
Yeah, not in Clan Invasion. There you go.
Not in Clan Invasion, they weren't. So we teamed up, and we had some interesting plays. The first game was against Craig Baxter in his Comstar regalia, and I forget what the other guy's name was, but he was dressed as the Comstar mechanic or Word of Blake mechanic or something like that. So started off hilarious. I mean, we had a lot of fun playing those guys. I think we ended up losing that game like 2-1. It was a close game. It wasn't quite the bloodbath. Charles had a C3 set up for his DCMS guys, and I was just going for hurt, like I do. So uh, it it was a fun game. It was a fun game. I had a good time. The second game was against a pair of brothers. That was a fun game. I don't remember their names off the top of my head, and I forgot to write them down. I'm such a terrible podcast host guy. Um, but the brothers worked as well as brothers do together. So there's a lot of comedic things that happen in that one. The third game, I remember the third game well because that was the game we faced 3 Kodiaks from a clan Ghost Bear,
Oh yeah, I remember looking at that and being
and
like,
it was
"What is
King of the
going
Hill,
on?"
and it was King of the Hill and Dominations, and those 3 Kodiaks came around that corner, and just it was rough. It was like all good King of the Hills, everything rushed to the center, and it was very reminiscent of your and mine and Mike's game when we played King of the Hill at that
Oh,
very
yeah.
first Copo,
Yeah.
when it was like everything's in the center. Let's just
Just
see who
yeah.
survives.
That's how you play that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good. We came in middle of the pack. I think we were like 8th out of 16 teams. So not bad. Not bad. But we had a good time playing. And yeah, it was fun. Doubles was doubles. Doubles is always a good time. It's
I
much more.
forgot to mention who we played. So first round for us was against Sarge and Jedi Bob, and
Oh,
their dice were cold, so that was difficult for them.
yeah.
Round 2 was the ever molasses moving Kaz. We love you, man. Kaz and
And
Steven. And yeah, we played. That was a headhunter and hold the line, and we just blew their commanders right off the bat. And then it was just a massacre in the middle. And then round 3 was Tom Bovey and Corey Johnston. So that's Kaz's brothers. And that was the Domination King of the Hill, and we just unloaded our 8 quad battle armor on the middle token, the King of the Hill, and then just destroyed everything that tried to approach. So
mean.
yeah, it was pretty mean. But yeah,
Mean.
those were our opponents, and props to them for playing against our list.
So that was doubles day. That was Thursday, and then we rolled into Friday to Alpha Strike 350 singles. How did that go for you, Matt?
Well, significantly worse because I made my own list that time. Yeah, but I had fun with my list. That's fine. I played the Purple People Eaters. I played them a couple times at some AS350s, and they keep me near the middle of the pack, and that's where all the fun is, right? So I ended up playing Jedi Bob again for round one, and he had like a ton of hovercraft that were just TMM3 trying to get close in on me, and I managed to wipe him out there and managed to win that one. Unfortunately, and I don't know how this happened, but that placed me up like on the third table. I really didn't win that well against Bob. Like it was relatively close, but that placed me up on table 3, and table 3 is not a good place for me, that's for sure. So I played John Thun, I think, from another Minnesota guy, and he had the skimmers, and he charged and bashed me. And then yeah, so that game I got hit with 4 charges. I wasn't a fan of that, but I guess it's still valid. And then he wiped me out from there. So I lost that one. That was actually domination, but it turned into it turned into stand up fight really. um, round 3. So I'm 1-1 at this point. I played this one I forgot to grab his name. So if you hear this and you're from Alabama, you used to be an X-Wing player. Sorry, it was a great game anyway. It was Capture the Flag. He played clans, but he had some like cheap units, and I barely hung on there. We tied for objectives, and I won by like 20 MOV or something like that. So yeah, that was a close one, but I won that one, which again pushed me up the table, and that's where I shouldn't be again. So then I faced Mr. Baxter. Yeah, so that was a good one. I really liked it. It was he had a better list for King of the Hill, and he kind of had more beef, whereas I had more skill, and his armor just outlasted my guns really, and his dice were rolling much better than mine. So Baxter took that one. So basically, I played 4 guys from Minnesota and then a guy from Alabama. But last game was against Shane from Minnesota, and he had a stone rhino, which I enjoyed seeing on the field. That was awesome. But then he had like a bunch of fast recons and stuff like that, and he just basically just bullied my list around and won easily at bunkers. So ended up 2-3, middle-ish of the pack, and that was okay with me. I wish I would have done better, but I don't really push enough to be the best. So maybe one of these days I'll really push hard into it, but it was not this day. Had fun either way. Back to you, Ben.
Yeah, my singles day was rough. It started off turn 1, round 1. My dice decided to go cold, and they stayed that way all day long. So, I started off playing Mr. Baxter because we had an arrangement. So we played each other the first game. He and I took a Fed Sons list, or Fed Sons Davian Guards list, just because I like thematic things and I was in a Fed Sunny mood. And it was 4 light mechs and a bunch of heavy tanks, and it did not perform as expected in theory. So,
Oops.
little rough there. Craig beat me up pretty bad. We had a really nice battle mech centipede thing going on at one point, which was a lot of fun and hilarity. But he ended up winning that game. And then I think I played a relatively new player the second game for, I think that was Domination. I can't remember. And I won that one. We didn't. He brought a lot of assault mechs, and I had a lot of speedy light mechs and a couple of Jaggers, and it didn't that performed as expected though. So that was okay. And then the next two games, did we only do 4 rounds?
No, we did 5.
We did 5. All right. So the next 3 games, I lost all 3 of those games. Um, I remember I
That's all
played
I
a guy
want to
from.
talk about.
I remember I played a guy from Omaha that decided to skimmer bomb me twice and use another fast hovercraft to ram me and kill all my light mechs pretty much in one turn.
Yep.
That was pretty rough. I had a blast playing another guy. I think he was from Minnesota. He was a lot of fun on King of the Hill, man. We just went for it in the middle and just duked it out. And I think I won that one. Or no, he won it because it came down to he had one mech with one structure left, and I had 2 light mechs left. And he killed one, but I couldn't kill him, so he won the tonnage race on the
Oh,
on the
man.
oat. So it was rough. 1 pip and like 7 damage coming at him, and I didn't hit with any of it. So
Oh.
that was par for the course on that day. And then the last game, I forget. I don't even remember what that game was. Man, this is like a month ago. Why don't we record this later? um, the last game had some skimmer bombs in it, and it was just gross. I don't even remember what it was, but I did not. 1 star. That's all I get.
1 star would not play.
would not play again. So it was a rough day. It was a rough day.
Yeah.
So that was Friday. I think I ended up like 30th out of 36. There was I was like one player above the people that didn't drop.
Yeah,
So
Valhalla didn't make a superior showing at the
no, man.
singles
I was just,
today.
of course, and me and Mario were trading shots all day long, and
Oh, yeah.
but that was the highlight of the day. Really, was just drinking and having a good time. So, so that was Friday. We hung out a little bit on Friday, and then Saturday. What did you do Saturday?
Saturday, I went up with the Chicago Classic BattleTech people.
Okay, how did that go?
Yeah, so it was kind of like they had a set number of units for each major faction in the Inner Sphere, so the 5 major factions. You signed up to play for that faction for the day. And so I signed up to play for my Purple Birds again. And what would happen is we were playing Classic BattleTech. It was kind of like a grinder type thing where you had 2 units, they go out and they try and kill stuff. And the 2 units, let's see, what did I come out with to begin with? I came out with a blackjack and a guillotine, which I love. I love guillotines. I love them. Run them quite a bit. Also like the blackjack. And I was stuck next to the Merrick player to my right, and then let's see, who was it? Not the Merrick player to my right. The Capellan player to my right. And who was to my left? I can't remember what faction they were playing for. Anyways, you basically try and kill stuff, and your faction gets points for everything that you kill. And at the end of the day, you can say, "Woohoo!" This faction wins. And they were kind of doing that throughout the weekend. I'd like to play Classic BattleTech, but I'm by no means like a great Classic player at all. And so I was just playing for fun and shooting stuff. And at first, both players on my sides ganged up on me. And then the Capellan player to my right was like, "Hey, let's make a deal and let's turn around." And it was the Steiner player. So let's turn around and both fire at the Steiner player. So I I thought, okay, I don't like to like get blown out the first 3 rounds of the game, so I'm down with that. And the Steiner player sitting next to me took umbrage with that and became a very grumpy player, shall we say. So we went along and it went back and forth, and he destroyed one of my mechs, and when he did that, he like almost jumped on top of the table and screamed "F you" in my face and flipped me off, and yeah, so this went on for a while, and I I want to give the format a good review. I thought if you're gonna play something like kind of like a grinder, it's kind of a fun theme to put on top of it. Use these factions and use units that are associated with the faction. But I did have a negative play experience with the player that was sitting next to me, and I know Classic Clint from Minnesota. Afterwards we talked about it. And he said, he was just like yelling in my face every time he hit a shot and everything. And I gotta say, I've never experienced that before, and it did cause me to have an unpleasant Saturday. I will say that. Yeah. So for those of you listening, everyone there's has paid money to come and have fun and not be yelled at when you happen to blow up one of their units or something. So just don't do that. It really was quite a negative experience, and I think I expressed that to everyone when I came back downstairs, and I was like, I felt absolutely drained of happiness because I'd come to this place, like I'd flown here, I'd paid a bunch of money to be there, and I held myself in check while some, I don't know, 20-year-old yelled at me and cussed in my face and stuff. So that was quite unpleasant. But I think the format has some validity to it, and I like anything where you take something that's like a grinder and you add something to it that adds a little bit more flair. And I think like the people that were trying to run it and helping people work through the units and everything, there was like 4 or 5 big maps that people were playing on all at once. So there was a lot going on, but so props to them for trying to run that. Again, rule number 2: don't be a dick. There you go.
That's it.
Is that rule 2 or rule 1?
It's rule 2.
Okay.
Rule 1 is have fun, or something.
Allegedly.
Yeah. With the with all the Wolfnet happenings at Adepticon, was 3.0 announced?
No.
Not yet, but it has been announced that it's in the works. So
it's in the works.
Yeah,
for
expect
sure.
it for major cons in the near future.
Gotcha.
Ben, you got to work on Saturday.
I did a little work as a demo agent. I got to assist with running Drafted for War. So it was a good time. We had 16 players the first round in the morning, and spent some time trying to figure out, explain to the players how to build their forces and stuff. But once we got rolling, it flowed pretty well. Then I jumped over to Alpha Strike Academy, taught a couple people how to play Alpha Strike, and then jumped back over to Drafted for War, where we had 24 players there. No, we still had 16 again. Yeah. So, and it seemed like the afternoon crew was a little bit. We had a lot of repeat players come from morning into afternoon, so it went a lot more smoothly, and we had players helping each other out, building their forces and stuff like that. So it was a good time. And then overall draft was great. Everybody seemed to have a blast, and they got to walk away with 3 minis of something they randomly got pulled from. So it was a good time. And then I think that's all I did that day. Wandered around a little bit, Got my BFM Matt.
Yeah, that's right. One of the few. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I wandered around a little bit, just to speak about more of the actual con itself, and there were definitely lots of vendors there, lots of cool stuff to see, lots of people selling stuff. I really like some of the mats that they had there, some of the painting products, just seeing some of the stuff for other games. I think it just overall really cool, like vibe and really cool experience. It was a little bit mixed where things were being held, and there were rooms all over the place. I took a little bit of time to kind of walk around, and there were outside of where BattleTech was being placed, like there were just kind of random rooms with smaller games all throughout this huge building. So definitely a lot going on there that for the most part I didn't even know was going on throughout the weekend. But yeah, kind of a cool vibe. Yeah. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
think I think it was good. I know. Well, Saturday I remember, and forgive me, I did not write anything down, and it's been like I've slept since then. But I think one of the most fascinating things, I had a conversation, about a 45-minute conversation with a guy from Australia that showed up. He was on, I forget, I think he called it like a nerd quest, where they set up like these tours for nerds to go and do conventions and gaming convention stuff, which I thought was fascinating. But we
Yeah.
chatted for a good 45 minutes about like the game scene in Australia, and how they're doing over there with getting product and things like that. And I ended up gifting him my Alpha Strike Commander's Edition that I just bought, to make sure he went back home with a fresh copy of Alpha Strike Commander's Edition. So um, hopefully he puts it to good use. And if he's listening, shout out to you, buddy, for making the trip and getting over into Milwaukee from Australia. So good on you for that one.
Yeah, maybe the only seventh edition in on the continent over there
It might be. It might be.
for
So,
a while at least.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean Sunday we really didn't do much. I ended up just going to my son came with me and I had to go pick him up in Michigan. You guys drove out, but I know there was still stuff going on Sunday. We really I mean, other than the stuff that we've already said, I had a ton of fun just hanging out with, Wolfnet and other guys, lots of other BattleTech and Alpha Strike players each evening, so that was always a ton of fun. Although one evening we went on like it was a crazy like 3 mile walk trying to get to someone's hotel so that we could eat, and that about killed several of us.
Yeah.
Poor Sarge was like freezing to death in the corner.
Well, and the
Um,
temperature, yeah, we were sitting
oh
outside
my
and we
gosh.
started the night off with like a 50-degree, 55-degree night. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like the temperature dropped like 15 degrees and like within 15 minutes. We were
Yeah,
just
it
like,
was
what
bonkers.
in the hell? So,
Oh, but much fun was had. We probably yelled and laughed way too hard at things with the um with the Wolfnet crew, but that's always a good thing. That was fun. Yeah, a lot of
yeah,
fun.
it was a good time overall.
Yeah,
It's good trip. Good trip.
for sure. Would you recommend? And who would you
Uh,
recommend it to?
I'd say if you're looking for a variety of games and you're not focused on one particular game, Adepticon's a good place to go. And it's not a huge convention like Gen Con is, but it's definitely bigger than LVO. So I would say, it's definitely something to consider as an option if you are looking to get into conventioning.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say something similar is especially if you are going to play multiple games of a different varieties. It would be a great place to play all of those at a high level or, kind of at a premium level, all in one weekend. And you do get a con experience. I think having not been to Gen Con, it seems like it's maybe a step down as far as maybe, the cosplay and the vendor hall or whatnot, but there's still tons of it and enough of it to get like a unique experience. We really didn't. I didn't feel like I myself didn't get a unique experience from Milwaukee, but that's because I just spent most of my time either hanging out with people that I met there, playing BattleTech, or just in the convention hall. So I really didn't get out much. And I know the other people that did express that they really like Milwaukee, but I think it's good if you want to play at a high level for some of these things. And I think there are others if you want to just do BattleTech or things like that. But if you've got several games you love to play and you want to play tournaments or whatnot, it's a pretty cool place to go. There you go.
All righty. Mike, did you have anything for a return report?
Nope.
Slacker.
I'm busy doing so many other things, man.
Mm.
I was in that class, turning my mind to mush.
Learn how to code things.
It was a class that started at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.
Ugh.
So I'm waking up at 3:45 in the morning to learn about coding and binary shit at 4 a.m. for 7 straight days. It was miserable. No. That's what I did.
That sounds like less fun. Yes.
Yeah, that does not sound fun at all.
Straight up, not having a good time.
All right. I think that wraps up Returner Report. Your arms dealer update. Your arms dealer update for this month. Make sure you check out Ares Games and Minis. They've got new Neo war mats in stock. So definitely check those out. I know Matt and we saw a preview of those when we were at KSAG.
Yeah.
They look
those
pretty
are pretty
dope.
cool. Yeah.
So make sure you check out Ares Games and Minis for that one. Upcoming action?
Yes. I have a couple of things. Let's see. The Atlantic City Open. So this is happening in Atlantic City. Have you been to Atlantic City, Ben? Being from the East Coast?
That's in Jersey, right?
Yeah, Jersey.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Well, anyway. Yeah. So Atlantic City Open, it's part of the FLG events that go around the country. Brad Nichols, good guy, is that I know is running some games over there on. So it's like a 3-day weekend type deal. And the way they've got the tickets set up for this is that you can buy a 3-person team pass for $85, or you can just do like a $30 mercenary, pass for yourself if you're just trying to go single and look for partners there. But what he's got going is he's got kind of like a casual Alpha Strike day on Friday. And then on Saturday and Sunday, they've got a 4-round Classic BattleTech tournament. It's basically 3 rounds on Saturday and then 1 round on Sunday. And you'll be part of a 3-person team, whether you bring the whole team or you kind of sign up and get a partner assigned to you. I won't go into too much detail, but there's a lot more information available on the Atlantic City Open website. I don't think I mentioned the date. It's June 13th through the 15th. So if you want to go to Atlantic City, June 13th through 15th, and play some BattleTech, Brad will take care of you. A great guy. We've had him out at the LVO, and great classic player. So also plays Alpha Strike. So go have fun with that one. Next, Ben, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say about Gen Con? What's happening at Gen Con, and why should people go to see you and Charles?
Me and Charles.
Yes. Those are the 2 people you need to go see at Gen Con. That's it. No one else, just Ben and Charles.
I mean, Gen Con is going to be off the chain this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know I'll be there. I'm pretty sure Charles will be there. Plus Andrew and Aaron Kroll and Tommy and Bloodbath from Wolfnet. And you'll probably have some of the YouTube guys there, the Armor guys that'll be there. It's going to be a lot of podcast stuff going on. And it's, I don't know, Gen Con, I've been going to Gen Con for a couple of decades now. So it's probably the biggest venue of gaming in probably the entire country. So it's humongous. It's huge. There's a lot of BattleTech going on. I know 350 singles, doubles is going on. I think I'm running some escalation stuff. There's lots of learn to plays. There's lots of themed games going on. Grinders, everything. Everything's going on there. So it's monstrous. I don't
Almost
know what
hard
else
to
to tell you.
describe.
It is. It is almost hard to describe.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be the granddaddy, right? The biggest
It is. It
in the
is.
country. So, and that is August 1st through the 4th, I believe, are the dates for Gen Con
Yes.
2025.
Yes.
I'll jump on here. Okay, so slightly smaller, only slightly smaller than Gen Con. We've got, as we previously announced, and I'm kind of organizing the Desert Hot Drop 25 occurring in Las Vegas, Nevada. Not Las Vegas, New Mexico. Don't go there. It's much smaller, and there will be no BattleTech. September 19th through the 21st, we will have BattleTech fun. I tell you that. There's a lot of, we're using Warhorn for signups, for registrations. We've got a lot going on. This is going to be happening at a hotel there, really close to the airport. Has a shuttle directly from the airport if you want to fly in. We've got a fair number of tournaments like the Alpha Strike 350. I know at least Andrew from WolfNet will be there to run the singles event and probably doubles the next day. We'll have an Alpha Strike narrative event. On Sunday, we're going to have a massive lore-based Alpha Strike board. So this will be like, everyone has probably over a company, and we'll just have a massive battle based on some lore event that to be determined. We've also got other Alpha Strike stuff like Conscripted Chaos, which is like Drafted for War. We've got an Alpha Strike homebrew that I put together and some other stuff. We've also got plenty of Classic BattleTech as well. So, Classic BattleTech Tournament, BattleTech Through the Ages. We've got 5K3U, which is bring 3 units at 5,000 BV. We've got Solaris 7. We've got Campaign in a Day, Classic BattleTech Kinderlands, Instant Action, Grinders, Open Play, all sorts of stuff happening throughout the weekend. It's all gauged on player interest. If players are really interested in something and we need more tables, we'll push more tables that way and less for another event. So it's going to be a fun weekend. If you can make it out to Las Vegas that weekend, possibly also Hunter's Paradise. That's what I'm going to call it for right now. But if you want to hunt some dinosaurs with mechs, with industrial mechs, with tasers or something, Ben is putting this together. That's right.
There's going to be turrets involved. There's going to be electric fences. There's going to be all kinds of craziness going on.
It's going to be awesome, and we're lining up.
Silly.
It's going to be awesome, silly. You will laugh. That's it.
Yes.
We're lining up. We've got some sponsors lined up, and there will be more coming. So I can't tell you about all the sponsors, but we're going to land up. Catalyst itself is gonna be one of the sponsors. So they're gonna help us out with some stuff, but we'll also have local store sponsors. We'll probably have many others that I'll announce later. But this is kind of your regional, especially in the West. But we're also, if you want to come from the East and play, we're more than welcome to have you. But it's like a regional BattleTech event. This isn't a Gen Con. This isn't Adepticon. This is BattleTech centric. Although we may have Leviathans, but that's pretty much the only other system other than tasing dinosaurs. But it'll be fun. Come out and have fun. Great players out here in the West, and would love to see you at this regional event. So if you can make it, fantastic. We have room for like 50, just over 50 people at a time playing, but we can stuff more in if needed. But lots of details. We've got details on our Discord, and there's a Desert Hot Drop Discord as well as the Warhorn, and then there's a Facebook event as well. So getting the word out now. You can sign up anytime until September 19th or even 21st if you're just going to come on Sunday, but it should be a great time. With that, back to you, Ben.
All right. That concludes upcoming action and shout-outs. Matt, you want to go first?
Okay, yeah. Shout out to all the folks that I played and met and talked to at AdeptCon. It was great to meet a lot of the Midwest crowd. That's part of what I really enjoy at KSAG and here at AdeptCon is just getting to meet a lot more of the players that are a little bit further east than here in the Rocky Mountain region. One of those players, Mr. Craig Baxter himself, we had a really great game, and just his dedication to the Comstar / Word of Blake cause. I salute you, good sir, and I love the C-bills that you were giving out. I thought that was one of the best little things to put out, and just carrying your mechs around in a briefcase like you are some sort of Comstar hotshot, that was awesome. So, Craig, shout out to you, but as well as all the other people I saw at AdeptCon. Thank you guys.
Mike?
My shout out's going to be to our old friend Rick. I was able to actually get in touch with him. Turned out he's on like a 1-year deployment, so that's why we haven't heard from him, and he's been busy. Oh, I found out Rick had a second kiddo, so congratulations, Rick. Shout out to you. I should anticipate him in Alaska in a little over a year. So I'm impatiently waiting for my homie.
Way to go, Rick. Props to you, man.
Yeah. But he's going to go to Fairbanks first, so like he's still going to be like far, but he'll be a lot closer than where he is now. But shout out to Rick. He's doing well. I know we haven't really heard from him, but he's doing well. And he's got a second kiddo now, so he's got a full plate.
Nice. Hey,
good on you, Rick.
That brings something to my mind. Sorry to interrupt there, Ben. As the originator of Dip the Tip, Mr. Rick himself, I just want to shout out the guys that are doing Dip the Tip throughout the week here on the Valhalla Club podcast. So
yeah, I've noticed Zimmer and a few others in there bringing it back to life. Yeah, that's worthy of a shout out
for sure. And just seeing the pictures in the painting channel and everything. Props to you guys. It's given me a lot of good ideas and made me want to paint more, and that's what it should do. So thank you guys for running that and being active in the Dip the Tip when some of us don't have time all the time. Thank you guys.
For sure. And my shout out goes to Derek King. You are the man as always. Keep doing what you do for the community, and we appreciate all your support. And to all the guys that whooped my ass at Adepticon, shout out to you guys. You beat up.
I guess
there's a whole crowd.
There's a whole crowd of them. But yeah, appreciate all you guys. Hope you guys had a good game, and look forward to seeing you across the table the next time. And with that, I think we're at last call.
Last call, everybody.
Last call.
Good night, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks for joining us today in the Valhalla Club. If you'd like to hang out with us and many other BattleTech podcasters, then be sure to join our Discord. Link is in the description. Special thanks to our sponsor, Ares Games and Miniatures. Ares is the premier online retailer for all your BattleTech needs. If you would like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/The Valhalla Club. If you have any comments, please feel free to send an email to thevalhallaclub@outlook.com. Until next time, mech fans.